Hi, Cedar Grove family. Today's verse is Hebrews 4:14 through chapter 5, verse 10. Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. For every high priest chosen from among men is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to God, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He can deal gently with the ignorant and wayward, since he himself is beset with weakness. Because of this, he is obligated to offer sacrifice for his own sins, just as he does for those of the people. And no one takes this honor for himself, but only when called by God, just as Aaron was. So also Christ did not exalt himself to be made a high priest, but was appointed by him who said to him, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." And as he says also in another place, "You are a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek." In the days of his flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplications with loud cries and tears to him who was able to save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverence. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. And being made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation to all who obey him, being designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. So one thing that really stood out to me was talking about Jesus as our great high priest. You know, in the Old Testament, they talked about the Israelites had to have a high priest that would make sacrifices, animal sacrifices for the sins of all the people and for himself. But Jesus became our high priest when he died on the cross, and he is once and for all our perfect sacrifice. So we don't have to do the animal sacrifices anymore. His dying on the cross for our sins paid it all. But what I really love is that what it says here, where it says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin." And I just love that no matter what we go through, whether it's grief or loss or suffering or hardship, Jesus understands all that we go through. He was tempted in the desert, and he is familiar with grief and loss and suffering and rejection, and yet he was without sin. And so we can draw near to his throne of grace with confidence because he understands everything that we ever will go through. He is compassionate and loving and kind and gentle, and he can help us in our time of need. And one other thing that really stood out to me was in chapter 5, verse 8, where it says, "Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered." And I think that's so interesting because he was both fully human and fully God, yet he learned obedience through suffering. And I believe that all the hardship that we can come across in life, whether it is grief or loss or cancer or whatever, God uses that for our good and for his glory. And he uses that to draw us near to Christ, who is our sympathetic advocate between him and God, that he is the one that understands all of our hardships and can be compassionate and loving to us during those times. He is our perfect sacrifice. Thank you.